Hey guys, Mike here. So obviously another disastrous CPI data report. Inflation's still running rampant. And guess what? The market does not care. At one point in time, all the indexes, I think maybe at 2 points in time today, were all green. Super red in pre-market and then just fought their way back. They do not care about inflation data. It must be old news because they are forward thinking 6 months out. And so obviously the bet must be that we're finally going to peak next month. Of course, we hear that every single month. And, who knows? I mean, with oil coming down as much as it's come down, with the gas coming down, it could obviously happen. We'll have to see. But, to me, I'm going to show you some stuff which, it just, I don't know. I always say the markets obviously are irrational. And I think that's where they're at because at this point in time, you see what's happening with inflation, right? I mean, you look at this right here, and as we can see, the month over month has been increasing since April, but again, it did that from January to March and then fell off a cliff. And so it's really what the Fed really cares about is month over month, not year over year. And you can see, and it's no shocker, where is the inflation at, right? 12-month change. Shocker, it's gasoline, airfares, household energy. And gasoline did come down from 5 to around 4.30 nationwide, which is a good thing to see. Hopefully it doesn't spike back up. Airfares are still sky high. Household energy is still sky high right now. And you can just scroll down and see right here how expensive everything's been getting over the last 12 months. But of course, the big thing is the news out today is now that actually the market is actually putting 1% Fed rate hike on the table for this month, and it's got like a 60 to 70% chance of happening now. I think it was 0 before today, but it's gone from 30 to almost 70% throughout the day as we've gone on. And so we know it's going to be 75 for sure, but they could do a full percent. And does the market care? Obviously not, because the bond market already, now listen to this, the bond market is actually already pricing in the Fed pivoting in December of this year and starting to lower rates in through 2023 of about 1%. Dropping those rates. So wherever they're at 3.5, they think it'll be 2.5. But they're already pricing that in. Like, nope, they're good. They're going to pivot. It's so hilarious that and how much they're calling the bluff of the Fed, right? Because of the debt and everything else, and they realize they can only do so much, and the fact the economy is slowing, and that's what they're raising rates into and rolling their balance sheet off into. But it's just so funny to me to see the Fed has just started quantitative tightening. And they're already projecting 5 months from now, they're going to pivot and start lowering rates and probably stop running off the balance sheet, right? And it's like, wow, that's kind of amazing because in August, next month, we don't have a meeting, which means there shouldn't be a rate hike unless they just all of a sudden come out with one. But, there's no meeting. And so you'll have that whole month without having to worry about, them coming out whether or not they're going to do a 50 or a 75 or whatever it is. So that's kind of out there. But the other thing to look at is, and this goes with earnings coming up, remember all these big, mega cap stocks are global companies. And I mean, look what's going on in Europe when it comes to inflation. I mean, just look at those numbers as I scroll down for you. And I mean, that's pretty high. I don't know what their normal is. I don't know if it's 2% like it is here. But again, the more people are spending on gasoline and rents and utility bills, the less they're spending in, buying Nikes and cars and laptops and iPads and things like that. And the one thing I still think, which kind of makes me laugh sometimes when, people say, hey, good, we'll have peak inflation. It's like, yeah, I'll be glad when it finally peaks. But, understand these companies, they buy way ahead of time. So like commodities have been coming down, right? Well, these big companies, they've already bought this. They buy way in advance. They have contracts in place, prices negotiated. So just because there's big drops and stuff don't mean that's the price they're actually buying at, right? Which means they can lower their prices even more to pass on to us. Well, that's not the case. And all you got to do is listen to Pepsi's earnings call, and I'll let you listen to the 15-second clip of the CFO for Pepsi right here, who just reported yesterday, by the way, beat on earnings, raised revenue guidance, and still sold off, by the way. And I think it has something to do with what he said right here.
You mentioned on the earnings call this morning, you're still seeing, I believe this is reiterated, mid-teens inflation for the year. I mean, that's some high inflation. Is the reality that inflation's just not going to come down to maybe the latter part of next year?
It's a good question. We'll see how next year evolves. Certainly in the earlier portion of the year, given that we forward buy on our commodities by about 9 months, we know we're going to face some inflation in the first half of the year.
And by the way, if you get anything out of this, please hit that like and subscribe button for me. I really appreciate it. Think about sharing the video. As always, guys, thank you for all your support. And so they're talking about 2023 double-digit inflation, for crying out loud, still for their company right there, because they buy way out like that. And so it's just one of those things, like, eventually, yes, inflation will peak. Hopefully it finally starts to come down, but all that stuff takes a lot of time to get through the system to get to us, because we can see the headline numbers start to come down, but when do we start to feel it? Like gas, you feel that right away, right? That's very volatile. It can go up and down very quickly. And you see, yeah, at the pump, I paid $6 less the other day to fill up my car. That's good, but when's it going to start hitting the grocery store in a meaningful way and other things? That's really the question. When does it work its way through the system? And so, and the answer is, I don't have a clue. So if you do, let me know. Never been through this in my lifetime, so we're going to see. The other thing I always hedge on, say companies have never been greedier in our lifetime. So even when inflation starts to come down, will they start to cut their prices if they know we're willing to pay $10 for a bottle of Pepsi or whatever it is we're buying? That's the big question, right? That's when you see prices start to come down, is when we say we've had enough, I'm not going to buy at that price anymore, and enough people step in and don't buy, and they say, oh, we better start lowering it down. They finally caught us. That's what we're talking about. And, because some of these companies still, their margins, believe it or not, are actually expanding, getting bigger, which means they're passing on more than what the costs are, the extra costs are to them. And then some companies obviously are not. And so, and understand with inflation, what's supposed to happen is, tech companies are the ones supposed to really feel all these big interest rate hikes and, the inflation, the extra costs being brought on, all that stuff. And not so much your big mega cap stocks, they have so much cash, but your smaller ones. And right now, that doesn't seem to be the case, right? I don't know if you've noticed what's going on with these small to mid cap stocks, some of them, but they've been moving. I'm doing another video on that tomorrow. But right now, the question is the Fed going to stick to their, mantra of, we're just looking at inflation, we got to get demand down and all that stuff, and get wage price stability and all this other stuff? Well, I was looking at this movie. I don't know if you've ever seen World War Z, but it popped up on my screen. I thought about it, and I was like, this to me is what, encompasses Jerome Powell and inflation here. So these zombies right here represent us and all that free money they put out there, right? All of a sudden, doors open up. We're getting out of our houses. We want to spend. We want to travel. I want a Big Mac. We want a pair of Nikes. We want a new car. Boom. I got all this free money. I got to spend. It's burning a hole in my pocket. So we want to spend and get in those doors of those shopping malls and everything else. See Brad Pitt. We'll call the guy he's standing beside, Jerome Powell, for example. And they're like, oh boy, this ain't good. Now understand, these zombies are spreading the virus. The virus is inflation. And as one great man said, if inflation goes unchecked, it's like a virus. It spreads, as you've gotten to see. Now, here comes Jerome Powell and his cronies. They're like, ooh, we got to get demand down. Get these guys down. Take out these shoppers. Let's go. Boom, 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 boom. Get that free money. Get those shoppers out of the system. We cannot have them driving these prices up like this. We got to get price stability. Again, you see Jerome Powell saying, don't worry, it's transitory. I got this. And then, of course, Brad Pitt says, I don't think so, dude. And forgive me, I had to take one more jab at Jerome Powell and his transitory statement, which he stuck to for many months, as we see inflation go up again for, I don't know how many months we're into now. But, that's where we're at. Obviously, and Friday will tell us, retail sales, I don't know why I have a sneak suspicion. It might be up. They're at least flat or up. And again, I keep feeling like, man, these institutions, they want to drive this market higher. You can just feel it, right? They're protecting these certain support lines and stuff, and they just won't let it go, the S&P and stuff, and the NASDAQ go below a certain level. And, tomorrow's video, I'm going to show you companies you might be shocked to see that are trying to basically form a stage one, which is where you consolidate, right? And build that foundation out before you move up to stage two, which is where we start to move up, right? Which sounds crazy. I mean, you're looking at it, that's why I say they're trying to, because it's not confirmed until they move above the 200 moving average or 40-week moving average, everyone you like to use. But, it's one of those things you look, especially the companies I'm going to show you, because it's kind of surprising to see this being these companies. But, with earnings coming up, that's what it's all about, right? I mean, we can have retail sales. You're going to have the data come out tomorrow. Probably not going to be good, right? On the producer price index, probably not going to be good. But I don't think the market's going to care. It's already seems to know when bad news is out there, and they sell off a little bit, and it fights back again. And so, it's going to be all about these earnings. We'll see how they go. So far, Pepsi reported, and they gave good earnings, increased revenue guidance. They still went red. There was a fast stock. They're into the construction business, selling equipment and parts, stuff like that. They end up down 6-7% a day after earnings. And so, it's just one of those things. We'll see what the market wants to do. Remember, if you see it go higher, it's because they're forward thinking and they're trying to price, saying the stuff's all priced in. But it's all about the consumer. And that's the one thing nobody truly knows. They just don't. How much are we going to keep spending? How much are we going to keep traveling? Delta was down huge today. They actually missed all their numbers, even though they said demand is, unbelievable. They hadn't seen anything like it. But I guess they can't find enough employees because they're canceling flights like crazy. I mean, it's amazing how many flights are being canceled. So maybe that's why they're not making their numbers. But we're flying. Even at the rates they're charging. I mean, I'm flying my mom down here in August. Whew, I was like, oh my goodness. It's crazy. The rates now compared to 2019. But people are flying. We just had a couple weeks ago go to Hawaii. They paid thousands of dollars. I mean, it's the amount of money they paid to go. Whew. I personally, be honest with you, I would never pay that amount of money to travel within my own country. Just wouldn't do it. That's just me. But that's how much stuff costs with hotels and the airline tickets and stuff like that. It's crazy right now. And so if you're traveling, let us know, how much more those trips are than they used to be, because we sat around a table this weekend, a birthday party, and the parents just talking about going here, going there, and how much more expensive, like 2 to 3 times more expensive than it used to be just 5 years ago. But guess what? People are paying. That's all that matters. That's what's going to drive this market. If the consumer just keeps seeming like we're healthy, there you go. It's going to keep doing its thing. So anyway, see you guys tomorrow with that video I told you about. If you get anything out of this, hit the like and subscribe button. If you like videos like this, let me know, and I'll see you tomorrow, okay?